So here's the question. Should you be the face of your practice, and should you double down on growing a personal brand? That's what we're going to be discussing in this episode as we look at what is a personal brand, why is it more relevant now than ever has been, what are the benefits, what are the negatives, and practically, how do you do it? Welcome to the Business of Hearing podcast. My name is Ollie Luke, and if you're a private practice hearing care leader that wants to grow iconic local status and grow reputation, recognition, and revenue, then you're in the right place. So let's unpack this as a question, right? Personal branding. It's a term that's been used many, many times, but what does it actually mean? Well, we had the joy of having Chris Ducker on the podcast not too long ago, who is almost like the grandfather of personal branding. He wrote a wonderful book called Youpreneur, all about what this is. Now, I have a slightly different way that I look at personal branding. It's essentially, if we break it down, what do people say about you when you're not in the room? Now, that could almost be described as reputation as well, right? Is what do people say about you when you're not in the room is really what your reputation is. The fine line between standard reputation and personal branding is, what about the people who've never met you? What do they say about you when you're not in the room? What do they say about you behind your back? What is their perception of you, and how do you scale the number of people that know you, like you, trust you, especially those who you've not met? That is where real leverage comes from personal brand. Now, we're in a bit of an interesting spot. If we zoom out a little bit of our industry and just look at the importance of a personal brand as a whole, there's a lot of lessons we can learn from US politics. So US politics has always had a way of showing you what the next trend in marketing is likely to be. So if we go back to the 1930s with Roosevelt, for example, like radio broadcasts was the thing, right? Big double down in radio broadcasts. That was the way that he communicated with the masses. Naturally won. And what happened after that? Radio advertising, radio became a big channel. We then jump into the 60s and we had Nixon and JFK in the debates. Nixon favored radio. JFK was very much television. What went on to happen? JFK won that. Take ourselves to 2008 with Obama. Now, what did Obama do very well? He did his social everywhere campaign, where essentially he was real and human. He was on social media replying to real people with real questions. It felt like I was speaking and building a relationship with a guy I've never met, right? What went on to be social media advertising boomed. We take ourselves to 2016. What happened? Why did Trump win that election? Well, obviously the Cambridge Analytica thing that came out, this micro-targeting, reaching people with very specific interests and then targeting them around those interests, whether to motivate them or anger them about a certain situation with the alternative party. Like that went on to produce what has been all the micro-targeting campaigns and this very behavior-based advertising that's occurred for a period of time. And then we take ourselves to the most recent US election, which was in 2024. Now, why did Trump win that election? What was the marketing trick that he did? What was the strategy? What was the thing that occurred? And what was interesting about this election that I've never seen before is the big thing that Trump leaned into was being on all the biggest podcasts in the world. He turned up on Joe Rogan, which has had like 60 million views for this 3-hour conversation. He went to like comedians like Theo Von and they joked about cocaine. Like it went a little bit all over the show, from niche ones who had the younger people's attention to the mainstream ones that have many people's attention. All in all, I think it was about, I've got the stat here, 17 hours of podcast interviews, and it surpassed about 150 million views right now on YouTube. You compare that to Kamala Harris. She did, I think it's about 80 minutes of podcast interviews in the entire run-up. Now, what happened was obviously history made itself. Trump won again. And it's interesting just as we dissect that, because what does it mean from a marketing perspective? What does it mean in terms of what the next puzzle is going to be? And the lesson it teaches loud and clear is personal brand has power. These comedians that otherwise would have made their money just on tour are now growing almost media empires as a result of leveraging their personal brand. Personal brand is growing. People are trusting people in this AI race more than anything else. Like, human to human connection has never been more important. And building on this even further, it's interesting to see some of the biggest tech brands in the world now putting their CEO at the face of the brand. So we've always known, like, Mark Zuckerberg has had this reinvention and become the face of the company. OpenAI, Sam Altman is the face of the company. We can, of course, look at Elon Musk. But it's interesting to see that, like, PayPal right now are advertising for a role of head of CEO content. Like, they want the content of their CEO. We've also seen Adobe do it. There's a few other big brands that have gone around this. Of OpenAI even did it themselves. Of like, how do we get somebody who's in charge of controlling the content that our CEO produces and pushes to the world? This growing the leader within a business to be the face of the business is something that's going on in all the big businesses, is a big trend that's occurring, and a major benefit, advantage, and opportunity for independent leaders like us. So let's look at the positives. Let's unpack, like, why are the reasons that you should become the face of your organization and try to grow the Dr. Smith name, for example, rather than just your ABC hearing name. Couple of benefits of this as I see it, right? If we play this out, like, the big challenge that all of us have as independents is we're often going toe to toe with Goliaths. Like, we are fighting a game that we should not win. Goliaths, take the Costco's, take the big manufacturer-owned chains, even take Apple that's throwing a little bit of weight around right now for attention. Like, we shouldn't compete with them. They can outspend us, they can out-resource us. Like, their entire just the recruitment budget for their marketing department is bigger than your annual revenue, right? They're playing a dramatically different game. In simple economics, we shouldn't be able to compete with them. But Goliaths have some pretty significant weaknesses that are David's, i.e. you and me, our advantage. And the issue with Goliath is they really struggle to connect. This is the reason the CEOs are being pushed forward, because they've got to hide behind a logo. Like, they've got to create a mascot in order to create any form of connection or humanity attached to them. Every single decision needs to go through many meetings. They need a focus group in order to give them feedback on what they're doing. Like, you and I as Davids, like, we can be the face of our organization. We can connect on a human level. Like, we can out-human the Goliath every day of the week. And right now, it's one of your biggest strengths. It's your ace card. And at the moment, it's not utilized by many small businesses, because many small businesses try to copy what the big guys do. And it makes sense in many aspects, right? If you wanted to master your golf swing, then what would you do? You'd look at what the best golfers in the world do. You'd look at how they position themselves, how they swing, how they move their hips, whatever, and you try to mimic it, and that would improve your golf swing. If you wanted to make an amazing meal, you'd probably get a recipe book from a chef that's mastered something. Would that improve the performance, improve what you produce? Absolutely. The issue we've got with small independent businesses is if we mimic the things that the Goliaths do, we're almost playing a game that we cannot win. Like, we need to lean into our David strengths. And David's strengths are always out-humaning, moving quicker, being lean, being efficient as we are, and being specific of not chasing mass market. But that's a whole different conversation. But using yourself as the face, as the brand, is such a power move, because you can do it and many others cannot. And if you do it effectively, then what do? You grow iconic local status. People know you. When they know you, what do they think about? Hearing health, hearing loss, hearing aids, hearing care. And it grows a huge amount of attention. Similarly, what do small independent businesses need to do? They need to produce content. They need to be a voice. They need to educate. They need to inspire their community to prioritize their hearing health. Now, doing this as a brand is very difficult. Turning up and saying ABC Hearing are at this show and we're going to talk about this, difficult. But when you become individual in the community that cares about the hearing health of the community, and you're from this practice, has a very different feel to it. People connect with humans. They don't connect with businesses. People don't trust businesses. People don't trust what they say, but we trust what humans say, especially when they've got credibility behind what they're saying. And you've got a pretty big advantage if you can be the voice, be the face of your practice. It's a big, big opportunity. It means people connect with you better. It means you can grow faster. You can produce content. You can really grow local iconic status in a much more effective way. And you become very difficult to compete with for much of the big groups that exist that are trying to eat our lunch. So what are the downsides of creating a personal brand? And there's a big one, right? You've got to do it, right? You've got to be the face of your business. That probably means you may have to record a video. That means you may need to have your picture taken. It means you probably have to go and speak in front of a community event. Now, it's a lot easier not to do that. Like, none of us want to do it. Like, only the egotistical weirdos are comfortable sitting, speaking on camera. I certainly am not. It's taken practice and practice and practice to get to a point where it's now not weird and awkward. But I think you're probably in your own way. And I was at an event recently in Canada, and what came clear at the end of the day, I was like, well, what's the biggest thing you're going to implement from today? And it's like, I need to do video, I need to do video, I need to do video, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm scared of doing it. And that's a very, very natural and human reaction, because we've got to look into a piece of technology. We've got to talk like we're speaking to a human like this, and then it's going to get put on the internet and people may have opinions if they watch it. Like, it's naturally uncomfortable. The challenge is it worth it? And it absolutely is. What's the worst case that's going to happen, right? Of course, there's logistics of having to record yourself, but you put yourself on the internet, you put your face there, you put your video there. What is literally the worst case that's going to happen? Like, one of your friends makes a joke to you, a stranger on the internet says something nasty to you. Is it really a big, big concern? Of course it's uncomfortable. Of course it's not natural. But is it important? And the fact it's hard and many people won't do it is probably one of the reasons why you should absolutely do it. The second big risk of growing too much of a personal brand attached to your practice is the risk of the value of your practice. Because let's say you grow your name to be the big name and then you have your practice there. What happens when somebody comes to buy the practice? Because a lot of the value and the valuation is probably going to be hinged on who you are. Now, if you're out the way because you don't come with the sale of the practice, maybe there's a transition period, but you're going to be out the way, then it becomes difficult. So you've got a potential risk there. The work you put in does have a potentially negative effect. When you're out the way, it may not harness the same value to the valuation of your practice. So that is one of the long-term risks. But I think if you do it correctly and you do it strategically, and as you grow, even though you're not seeing patients, but you're still the voice and face of your practice, still has a lot of power. You can be the person that sets the standard that your team deliver on, right? You can build the methodology, you can be the expert, and you've trained your people to deliver your expertise. Like, there's ways you can do this. And same with our business right now. Like, I don't personally deal with every single client every single day, but what I've done is I've developed the marketing fundamentals, I'm defining the playbooks, I'm the one who's setting the strategy and then ensuring the team deliver it to the right standard, right? And it's could be the same with you. So there's ways to deal with it, but that's a problem for tomorrow, right? Growing personal brand, getting more patients through the door, having them choose you over the other faceless organizations and logos that exist in your community. That is a huge opportunity. And then from there, the issue of how do we deal with such a high valuation and scale it backwards when we're not involved in the business. That's not a bad issue to deal with at a later stage. So we've looked at what is a personal brand. We've looked at why it's important now more than ever and why is it a big movement. We've looked at the benefits of it. We've looked at the negatives. So let's say you're like, okay, I want to do this. Where do I start? Which is a very valid question. And I'd start in a few very, very simple ways. Number one is when somebody comes to your website, how much of you is on that site? Is it your logo at the top, a statement of what you do, and a list of services that you offer? Or are you there? And one of the things that we implement for a lot of the practices we work with is top of the website, underneath kind of headline value proposition, is a personal message from owner name. And it's a little statement. And it's like, here's a little bit about who we are. Here's why we're different. If you want this, this, and this, we're your people. And it's a little statement just to summarize who you are. And often what I like most is when you can tie some personal story. It's like, oh, I've spent 15 years in the industry working in these environments, and I realized it could be done better. I wanted to start a practice where people got the right levels of care, the right level of time. There was no rushed appointments. We could do the right thing for the patient in the moment without having to hit certain numbers or rush appointments. Therefore, I started ABC Audiology. Since then, we've helped thousands of people to achieve better hearing through a methodical process of best practices that does this, this, and this, and this, trusted by this, this, and this. If you're looking for high levels of care, long-term service, and somebody that can be a partner on your journey, then you're in the right place. Like that statement with a signature at the bottom, a nice picture of you, that is a nice, simple way to put yourself forward, be proud, loud on your website, and have people align your face, your name to the wider brand. Secondly, if you want to double down on this and go in a little more depth, video really is your friend on this one. So it could be simple videos on the website. Like, could you do an office tour when people have not been before and there's that natural hesitation, like we all have ahead of an appointment we've never been, or a building we've never walked into, not wanting to look stupid and pull a door when you're supposed to push it, etc. How can we make people feel more welcome? Well, could you have a little welcome video? And it's you stood outside the practice and it's like, hey, welcome along to ABC Hearing. I'm going to walk you around and meet the team. Come with me. Walk through. Let me open the door for you. Okay, here we go. So this is our waiting room. We have coffees over here. This is Stacey. She'll be on the front desk. She'll likely be the person that you'll see if you come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Donna isn't here today. She does Thursday, Friday. Like, just walk through and give personality, give voice, give face. Because there's a big thing that's occurring right now in our industry. The silent generation, the generation that we've served for the past 2 decades, they visited you and they made a decision face to face on whether you were the right fit for them. The boomers, the generation that we're dealing with right now when we're at the beginning of the cusp of, they're very different. They're deciding in advance on whether you're the right person for them. If they schedule with you, they've done their due diligence and research to say you're probably right for them. And unless you mess it up or something doesn't align, they'll be out the door. Like, it's different. They're meeting you earlier in the journey before they've ever physically met you. So video is a very powerful way to help people to meet you, feel like they've met you, etc. So big opportunity there. Now, if you really want to double down even further, there's no better opportunity right now than YouTube. YouTube is absolutely huge open water for independent practices that want to grow personal brand for a number of reasons. Second largest search engine on the planet. When you upload content, it's not like social media. It doesn't disappear tomorrow. It's there. It's indexed. It shows up for years and years and years. With AI search right now, they're utilizing video very heavily. So they transcribe video that pulls into AI search. Google AI overviews, Google AI mode right now are indexing videos when people make searches to give recommendations and answers. And the best thing for us, the bar in our industry is very low. There's only a small handful of people creating hearing healthcare related content, and there's a lot of traction and traffic for it. A lot of people start deep research on YouTube, which creates a good opportunity. It does mean you need to sit in front of a camera. It does mean you need to create routine. It does mean you need to do some research to learn how YouTube works and some of the little nuances around how to get your videos seen, watched, how to wrap them up in curiosity packaging to get them clicked, etc. But I think it's work that is worthwhile if you're serious about playing the long game and growing personal brand. So that was a big old topic, right? Unpacking personal brand. If I have to sit here and recommend it, I absolutely would. It's something I share with many of the practices we work with. And we've got a lot now that are doubling down in YouTube, and we're helping them through that path and, naturally driving the logistics, working out the research, submitting the questions to them, helping them record it, and then from there taking it, editing it, packaging it, and launching it on YouTube and building their channels. Big opportunity. And if you're not the face of your practice and you're a small independent practice owner, I think there's a big missed opportunity right there. If you fix that bit, you put yourself out there, you put your heart loud and proud at the front of your brand, it'll allow people to connect much deeper and as a result, be more likely to choose you. So hopefully that was helpful. I appreciate your ears as always, and I'll be back again next week with another episode. Speak to you then.